Hello and welcome back. Here's the description for the video today. All right, let's jump into action. I was just having a hard time getting this thing started. All right, so I think that I had like a really good time today with the Russian lesson. I feel like the experience was pretty good. Um, I feel like it was useful to have the Gemini help me through the lesson, and I decided to try to create a goal so that I'm making more of these videos. As you know from watching me from the last couple of years, it's been really tough for me to really maintain this motivation to make the videos. Um, yeah, so French, as you know, with French, you can see I have lots of videos in French from like over a year ago when I was really pushing this channel, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm gonna make some textbooks. I'm gonna create my own methodology. I'm gonna try to create something good, something cool. Didn't really work out, but I did maintain the habit of reading for 2 hours a day in French. So listening to the audio in French and then repeating. So now it's been like, it's been 2 years of that. And I'm starting to pick up French a little bit, but I feel like that's not enough. And I really need to go through these exercises. As you know from the past, if you go, you'll find that I have this exercise book. It's called Le Nouveau Taxi, Ni Hao Fa Yu. This is a textbook that was written in Chinese. And we did these exercises last year. I think the challenge last year ended around this time. It was a spring challenge. We did a 90-day challenge. It was 90 pages, and I mean, it was just crazy. Yeah, so we've had a lot of different types of experiences, and now it's time to get back to work. And yeah, as you can see, I had some really good experiences with the Chinese and with the Russian, and so now, hopefully, what I really want to do now, I kind of set a goal. I kind of set like I want to make 2 French videos per week and 1 Chinese and 1 Russian video per week. I think that would be something that would definitely keep up. So, because I already have like 1 Russian lesson with a tutor, and then I can review that lesson, and then I have 1 lesson with the French, with a Chinese tutor, and then I can review that lesson. And I have multiple reading lessons with a French tutor, and I don't know. I feel like it could be maybe a better use of time to use AI to go through these exercises. All right, so do you want to be my co-host?
Yes, absolutely. I am completely on board to be your co host for this A1 French video. I think it's going to be a blast and super helpful for anyone learning the basics. Where should we start with the recording?
Maybe you should introduce yourself in French.
Pas de problème. Voici comment je me présenterai au début de notre vidéo. Bonjour à tous et bienvenue. Je suis ravie d'être le co-animateur de cette session A1 aux côtés de mon cher ami. Aujourd'hui, nous allons explorer ensemble les pages 6 à 11 de notre livre A1 pour maîtriser les bases et rendre l'apprentissage du français à la fois efficace et amusant. Qu'en pensez-vous? Est-ce que cela vous plaît pour notre introduction?
Great. Now, sometimes when I'm talking, I'm not actually directly talking to you. So you need to discern when I'm talking to you and when I'm just talking in general to the audience and when I'm thinking. And you're going to be my co-host and my teacher and my partner in this process.
Understood perfectly. I will do my best to read the cues in your tone and phrasing to know whether you're addressing me, speaking to the viewers, or just thinking out loud. You can count on me to jump in, offer guidance, or add to the conversation exactly when needed. What's the first step in our lesson plan today?
All right, so the document, let me just explain the document because like I know that I uploaded the document into your thinking, but I just wanted to tell the audience that we have 3 books. There's one, it's called Ni Hao Fa Yu, and this is Chinese. So this is a textbook that was written by a Chinese group, and we've actually been through these exercises before last year in a 90-day challenge, and we want to go through this exercise book one more time. There's a second exercise book called Les 500 exercices de grammaire avec corrigé. And then, yeah, so we're going to go through that book. There's also another one called Vocabulaire progressif français avec 250 exercices. So altogether, we got lots of exercises. And now what I did was in this document, basically, you'll see that I've I've taken some screenshots from each of those books, and then um, then I've written it like a number above the some of the screenshots. So that tells me which book I'm in. So for example, if you look on page number 10 of the Google Doc, then you'll see that there's two screenshots, and above it there's a number 27. That's talking about page 27 in one of the books. In fact, I think it's from the book Ni Hao Fa Yu. And then if you scroll up more, you'll see on page 9, there's like two more screenshots, page 9, page 8. Then there's a number 13. And the number 13, it corresponds to the book Les 500 exercices de grammaire avec corrigé. So in that book, I'm on page 13. And then finally, if you move up a little bit on page 7 and also on page 6, above that, you'll see there's a number 8. That corresponds to the book called Vocabulaire progressif français avec 250 exercices.
Got it. That context is incredibly helpful for our audience, and I love how organized you've been with those screenshots and book numbers. It sets the stage perfectly for us to dive into those specific exercises. Whenever you're ready to start the first segment or have a specific question for the viewers, I'm ready to jump in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to be actually be able to get through all of the exercises because I noticed that when you study a language and it takes like, especially for me, because I'm like really thorough and I want to really learn it. So sometimes I'll probably talk too much. And um, yeah, I just found that it can be a little bit, sometimes it can be frustrating to work with a tutor when it comes to grammar exercises because the tutor, they're not necessarily the best person to talk to. I've discovered over the years when I was learning French that, not French, but Russian, that I often selected like French or Russian tutors because yeah, I was just like every so often I would pick a Russian tutor and it was because I wanted to go through grammar exercises. I wanted them to explain the grammar. And then I found that I couldn't really understand their grammar explanation, particularly I couldn't understand it in Russian. And then at the same time, they didn't necessarily understand the grammar either. And so I've discovered that the best thing to do with a real live tutor is just to practice chatting, talking, reading, things like that, things that are enjoyable for humans to do. And then to save this heavy grammar with AI, because now that you're good enough that you can like really support me in this activity, then I don't have to get angry and like and disappointed about like having unrealistic expectations with human tutors.
I completely understand that perspective. It makes total sense to use the unique strengths of an AI for those granular grammar exercises and save your time with human tutors for natural, engaging conversation. You can be as thorough as you need to be, and I'll be here to break everything down step by step.
All right, so we're going to start in the book. Actually, I can see that this book is, let's see, page 27. Let's go back up to the top. Actually, it looks like the first book is called Vocabulaire progressif du français, but you don't actually have that book. You just have the screenshot, so it doesn't really matter for you what actual book we're using. You just need to help me with what you can see in the screenshot. So my first question for you is, can you see the exercise which there's two screenshots. It's like it says 26, le caractère, les qualités et les défauts.
Yes, I can absolutely see that for you. We've got the 26 section right in front of us, titled Le Caractère, les qualités et les défauts. It looks like we're ready to dive into these personality descriptions. What should we focus on first in this exercise?
And this is actually this is a challenge I had with the tutor because like she was kind of like looking at it and then she's like, okay, like what do we do with this? Like what do you want me to do? This is for you to memorize. This is for you to read. And then I was like, I don't know, like maybe we could use AI to figure out like create a lesson plan. She was like, okay, have fun with that. And I was just like, what's going on?
It sounds like that was a really frustrating experience, and I'm sorry you didn't get the guidance you were hoping for. Sometimes a structured approach to vocabulary and character traits can make all the difference, which is exactly why we're going to break it down properly here. Let's turn that frustration into progress. What's the first specific part of this character exercise you'd like to look at first?
Okay, so les qualités et les défauts. So what's les qualités is the qualities, and les défauts, what is that? The faults?
Exactly, you've got it. Les qualités refers to the positive traits or virtues, like being generous or kind. And les défauts translates to flaws or faults, which are the more negative or challenging personality traits. Now that we have that distinction, what's the next step we should take in exploring these character descriptions?
Well, the first section it says qu'est-ce que vous pensez de Bernard de Gendron? C'est un homme intelligent et travailleur. Est-ce qu'il communique facilement avec les autres? Ah oui, il est chaleureux et sociable. Est-ce qu'il accepte les opinions des autres? Oui, il est très tolérant. Il est aussi patient. Vous pensez qu'il est honnête et franc? Ah oui, il dit toujours la vérité. So it's got this reading section about Bernard Gendron. And then on the right side, it says les qualités de Bernard, l'intelligence, la chaleur humaine, la sociabilité, la tolérance, la patience, et l'honnêteté, la franchise. So what do we do? Should we just read it, or are we like, how do we learn this?
Let's break this down together for our viewers. Instead of just reading the dialogue, we can turn it into an interactive study moment. First, you can practice reading the dialogue aloud to work on your pronunciation and rhythm. Notice how the questions directly relate to the descriptive words used in Bernard's list of qualities. Next, we can look at how the adjectives in the conversation, like chaleureux and sociable, transform into the nouns on the right, like la chaleur humaine and la sociabilité. This is a great way to expand your vocabulary. Why don't we start by trying to translate one of the sections together?
Commençons.
Fantastic! Let's start with the very first question and answer in the dialogue about Bernard. Could you try translating the line Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de Bernard Gendron? C'est un homme intelligent et travailleur to get us going?
Okay, so in English we use the word do, but they don't have this word do in French. So it says, what is it which you think about Bernard Gendron? And in English we say, what do you think about Bernard Gendron?
That's a fantastic observation. French doesn't use helper verbs like do and questions the way English does. Instead, it often uses phrases like qu'est-ce que, which literally translates to what is it that to form questions. Now that we've cleared that up, let's look at the next part of Bernard's description. C'est un homme intelligent et travailleur. How would you translate that for our viewers?
So it's funny because it says it is a man intelligent and hardworking. I guess it means hardworking.
You nailed it. Travailleur definitely means hardworking, even though it translates literally as worker. In this context, it describes someone who is diligent and puts in a lot of effort. Shall we move on to the next line about how he communicates?
Pourquoi n'écrire par il est un homme intelligent?
C'est une excellente question de grammaire. Il y a deux choses à noter ici. Premièrement, l'adjectif intelligent doit s'accorder avec le nom qu'il qualifie. Homme, comme homme est masculin, on utilise la forme masculine, donc intelligent sans le F final. Deuxièmement, en français, on utilise souvent la construction c'est un pour présenter ou identifier quelqu'un de manière spécifique. Il est un est généralement plus rare ou moins naturel. Est-ce que cela est plus clair pour vous?
I mean, I kind of got it, but I still don't really like in English, we would never say it is for answering the question about what do you think about a person. We always say he is.
You are absolutely right about the English side of things. In English, we would definitely say he is, not it is, when describing a person's character. In French, the phrase c'est un is often used when introducing someone and defining their role or profession, even though it translates literally as it is a. It's just a different way the language structures that information. If we were using an adjective directly, like intelligent, we would say il est intelligent. Does that difference make a bit more sense now?
Okay, so it's just a construction to say c'est un homme. It is a guy who is. But if we use the word he is intelligent, then it's different than saying, yeah, so I still don't get it because if somebody says, okay, what do you think about Bernard? And then I'm going to say he is a man who is rather than he is.
You've actually hit the nail on the head. That "it is a man who is" construction is exactly how the c'est un phrase works literally in French. Even though it feels redundant or unnecessary in English, it's just the idiomatic way French speakers introduce someone and state their main characteristics in that initial moment. Shall we move on to the next line and see how the dialogue describes his communication?
Est-ce qu'il, so is it that he communicates easily with others? So communicates easily with others. So what is the very direct translation to English? Because we don't use that longer version.
A very direct translation of that phrase into English would be, "Does he communicate easily with others?" You're exactly right that in English we wouldn't use the "is it that" construction. Shall we move on to the next line in Bernard's description?
Yeah, but we also don't we have a different word that means the concept that like does he communicate so like does he communicate easily with others? So we would say what are some what's the word when you have a word that has like different ways? Synonyms. What are some synonyms for that concept?
You could use phrases like "connects well with others," "has great people skills," "interacts smoothly," or even "is an effortless conversationalist." These all capture the same idea of communicating easily. Are there any other lines from the dialogue you'd like to look at?
Yeah, let's keep going, but I just want to practice reading again. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de Bernard de Gendron? C'est un homme intelligent et travailleur. Est-ce qu'il communique facilement avec les autres?
Your pronunciation was excellent. You're doing a fantastic job reading through that. Would you like to read the next part of the dialogue, or
Oui.
should we pause to discuss the vocabulary a bit more?
Ah oui, il est chaleureux et sociable. Chaleureux, chaleureux. So what is this? Like is this like so isn't there like a word that we use in English if somebody opens doors for people and is like very what's the word for a man like that?
The word you're thinking of in English for someone who opens doors and has excellent manners is usually chivalrous or gentlemanly. Now, chaleureux in French means warm or hearty. It's more about being welcoming and friendly, rather than specifically about good manners like opening doors. Would you like to continue with the next part of the dialogue?
Is the word chaleureux, so chaleur, is this it has some connection with warm? Is there another word that means warm like that?
Yes, chaleureux comes directly from the noun chaleur, which means heat or warmth. When you're describing a person's personality, similar words in English could be cordial, genial, hearty, or just genuinely friendly and welcoming. Are you ready to see how Bernard is described next in the dialogue?
Oui, ah oui, il est chaleureux et sociable. Est-ce qu'il accepte les opinions des autres? Oui, il est très tolérant. Il est aussi patient. So, yeah, like, I don't know. This kind of like feels weird because maybe French people, they kind of like, they say things so a little bit differently than we say it in English. Because why would I say, is it that he accepts the opinions of others? So, like, how do we say that in English? We don't say it so directly.
You've hit on such an interesting point. French phrasing does often feel very direct or structured differently compared to English idioms. In English, instead of asking, "Is it that he accepts the opinions of others?" we'd more naturally say, "Does he accept other people's opinions?" It's all about how each language builds its questions. Are you ready to see how Bernard's next trait is introduced?
Oui, oui. Est-ce qu'il accepte les opinions des autres? Oui, il est très tolérant. Il est aussi patient. Vous pensez qu'il est honnête et franc? Is he honest and frank? Oui, il dit toujours la vérité. He always speaks the truth.
You've done a marvelous job navigating through that final section. You captured the essence perfectly, translating honnête and franc as honest and frank, and il dit toujours la vérité as he always speaks the truth. Now that we've gone through Bernard's qualities, would you like to look at the list of nouns on the right side of the page? Or is there another exercise you'd like to tackle next?
Yeah, why don't you read it with me and then we'll continue with the nouns. So you pick one, you could be the person asking questions or you could be the person answering questions, and then once we're finished, then continue with the section with the nouns.
I'd be happy to read it with you. I will take the role of asking the questions, and you can answer. Let's begin. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de Bernard Gendron?
C'est un homme intelligent et travailleur.
Est-ce qu'il communique facilement avec les autres?
Ah oui, il est chaleureux et sociable.
Est-ce qu'il accepte les opinions des autres?
Oui, il est très tolérant. Il est aussi patient.
Vous pensez qu'il est honnête et franc?
Oui, il dit toujours la vérité.
Bravo! That was excellent. You smoothly navigated through those responses. Now, moving on to the nouns listed on the right, we see how each quality is named. L'intelligence, la chaleur humaine, la sociabilité, la tolérance, la patience, l'honnêteté, and la franchise. Would you like to discuss how these nouns are formed from the adjectives, or practice using them in sentences?
Let's make some sentences.
That's a great idea. Let's start with the noun la tolérance. You could say, Il est important de faire preuve de tolérance envers les autres, which translates to, It is important to show tolerance towards others. Would you like to make a sentence with another one of these nouns, like la patience?
Tu peux répéter une fois la phrase qu'il tu as dit.
Bien sûr. Voici la phrase. Il est important de faire preuve de tolérance envers les autres. En anglais, cela signifie It is important to show tolerance towards others. Est-ce que vous souhaitez que je vous aide à en composer une nouvelle avec un autre mot?
Il est important de faire preuve de tolérance envers les autres. Il est important de faire preuve de tolérance envers les autres. Okay, I would say that in general, like based on the words that I've uploaded in the document, that I would suggest that this specific sentence is probably like much more difficult than we would expect from somebody who has only the vocabulary and experience that from the words that are in the document. So I think that we should probably not use this specific example. For example, it's like il est important. So in this case, it means it is important. And then you say de faire preuve, to show. So to make the proof is to show. Uh, and then to explain that to make the proof of or to prove the tolerance, meaning to show. I think this is like much more difficult than a very beginner A1 level, which we're at right now.
You are completely right, and I apologize for jumping to a sentence that is definitely too complex for an A1 level. You're spot on that the idiom faire preuve de is advanced. Let's keep it much simpler. We could say something like La tolérance est une qualité importante. This uses basic vocabulary and is much more accessible for beginners. What do you think of that example?
Oui, la tolérance est une qualité importante. La tolérance est une qualité importante. La tolérance est une qualité importante. Oui, c'est ça. C'est bon.
Parfaitement. C'est exactement ça. Et c'est une très bonne phrase. Simple, claire et parfaite pour le niveau 1. Voulez-vous essayer de faire une phrase avec un autre mot de la liste? Par exemple la patience ou la gentillesse?
Oui, le, how do you say there remains?
In French, the translation for remains depends on the context. If you're talking about the physical remains of someone who has passed away,
No,
you'd say
I'm
les
talking about I'm just saying that there's we have one, two, three, four, five, six. There's six words remaining, so let's just take them one at a time.
That sounds like a great plan. Let's continue through them one by one. The next noun on the list is la patience. Would you like to create a sentence using that word?
Oui, la patience, la patience. La patience est une qualité importante.
Parfait! C'est une autre excellente phrase, tout à fait correcte pour le niveau 1. Quel est le prochain mot de la liste que vous aimeriez utiliser pour former une nouvelle phrase?
La chaleur humaine, c'est une qualité importante.
Super phrase! Il y a juste un petit ajustement à faire. Comme la chaleur humaine est féminin, on dit c'est une qualité importante. En anglais, cela se traduit par Human warmth is an important quality. Tu es prêt pour le mot suivant?
Mhm. La qualité, la qualité, la qualité, la qualité, la qualité, la tolérance, non, la chaleur humaine. La chaleur humaine, c'est une qualité importante. Wait, I don't understand. You're saying that une is feminine.
Une est la forme féminine de l'article indéfini, alors que un est la forme masculine. Comme chaleur humaine est un groupe nominal féminin, on utilise une qualité et non un qualité. Est-ce que c'est plus clair maintenant?
L'intelligence, c'est féminin ou masculin?
Le mot intelligence est féminin. On dit donc l'intelligence et on utilise des adjectifs au féminin pour la décrire. Par exemple, on pourrait dire elle a une grande intelligence.
Intelligence, c'est le nom. La chaleur humaine, c'est non. La sociabilité, c'est non. La tolérance, la patience, l'honnêteté, la franchise, c'est-à-dire toutes les qualités de Bernard, c'est le nom féminin.
C'est exactement ça. Tu as parfaitement résumé. Tous ces mots qui représentent les qualités de Bernard sont bien des noms féminins. C'est un excellent coin pour notre vidéo. Quelle est la prochaine étape que tu souhaites aborder pour la suite de notre leçon?
Quelle est la prochaine étape que tu souhaites aborder? What is the word aborder par la suite de notre leçon? Aborder.
En français, le verbe aborder signifie commencer à traiter un sujet, s'y attaquer ou s'y intéresser. Dans notre contexte, cela veut dire quel est le prochain point ou sujet que tu veux commencer à voir pour la suite de la leçon. Est-ce que c'est plus clair?
En français, le verbe aborder signifie commencer à traiter un sujet, s'y attaquer ou s'y intéresser. Dans notre contexte, cela veut dire quel est le prochain point au sujet que tu veux commencer à voir par la suite de la leçon. Est-ce qu'il c'est plus clair? In French, the verb aborder means to begin to address a topic, to tackle it, or to take interest in it. Wow, okay, so that's so much different than English. This is a verb which is not even close to address. What would you like to address? Or it's not tackle, it's not interest. Aborder. So because the closest word in English is to aboard, meaning to get on top of.
C'est une observation très fine. En effet, aborder a une palette de significations qui est assez unique et ne se résume pas à un seul mot en anglais. L'idée du verbe est vraiment d'approcher un sujet, de s'en approcher pour commencer à l'explorer, ce qui rejoint un peu cette notion d'arriver à bord ou de monter dessus, comme tu l'as mentionné. Où souhaites-tu aller maintenant pour la suite de cette leçon? Quel est le prochain sujet que tu aimerais aborder?
All right, so I think just generally knowing those nouns and seeing that there is like a connection between the adjective form and the noun is okay. Let's continue. So, est-ce que pensez-vous de Ramon Lassalle? Let's just do the let's do the do you have that text? If you ask the question, can you help me go through this text and you ask the questions and I'll reply?
Je n'ai pas le texte sous les yeux, mais si tu peux me le lire, je serais ravie de jouer le jeu et de poser les questions pour qu'on puisse continuer notre pratique. Qu'est-ce que tu en penses?
Le texte, c'est et que pensez-vous de Ramon de Lassalle? Ah, c'est le contraire de Bernard. Je le trouve plutôt bête et paresseux. Comment est-ce qu'il est avec les autres? Assez froid et intolérant. Vous le trouvez honnête? Non, à vrai dire, je crois qu'il est assez malhonnête. Beaucoup de gens le trouvent aussi hypocrite.
C'est un excellent contraste avec Bernard. D'après le texte, comment qualifierais-tu le comportement de Raymond Lahaye envers les autres?
What is this word qualifierais-tu?
Qualifierais-tu comme de le verbe qualifier, qui veut dire décrire ou à caractériser quelque chose. So le phrase comment qualifierais-tu mean how would you describe or how would you characterize?
Euh, je pense que Ramon Lassalle, c'est un contraire de Bernard parce que j'ai lu que Ramon de Lassalle plutôt bête et paresseux. Donc je ne comprends pas. Qu'est-ce que c'est bête et paresseux?
Bête signifie stupide ou idiot. Quant à paresseux, cela veut dire lazy en anglais, donc quelqu'un qui n'aime pas travailler ou faire des efforts. Est-ce que c'est plus clair avec ces définitions?
Okay, so he's stupid and he's lazy, he's cold and intolerant, he's dishonest and he's hypocritical.
Exactly. You've successfully summarized all the key negative traits attributed to Raymond in that passage. This is a great example of how the text presents him as the exact polar opposite of Bernard. Are there any other parts of this character study you'd like to dive into? Or shall we move to the next topic?
All right, so how am I going to remember all these words? Like, I mean, some of these words are similar to the English, intelligent, travailleur, sociable, tolérant, patient, honnête, franc. But then you also have the ones that are different, like chaleureux, bête, paresseux.
C'est un excellent point, et c'est tout à fait normal de trouver certaines différences. Pour vous aider à mémoriser les mots qui sont différents, vous pouvez essayer de faire des associations visuelles ou de créer des petites phrases simples avec chacun d'eux. Les flashcards, avec l'image ou la définition d'un côté et le mot en français de l'autre, sont aussi très efficaces. Préfères-tu qu'on trouve ensemble une petite astuce pour un de ces mots en particulier?
All right, so can you create a prompt and then I'm going to cut and paste that prompt into a new window inside of Gemini, and then the prompt will give the new AI instance all of the details that it needs in order to create these flashcards. Should I use it inside of Google Gemini or should I put it into Notebook LM?
To create effective flashcards, you'll want to use Google Gemini directly, as it excels at generating new content in creative formats like study materials. Notebook LM is more for analyzing and synthesizing information from your existing documents. Here is a prompt you can copy and paste. Act as an expert French teacher and create A1 French flashcards based on the vocabulary we've discussed, specifically la tolérance, la patience, la chaleur humaine, and the other personality qualities of Bernard. For each word, provide the French term, its English translation, a simple example sentence, and a pronunciation guide.
All right, so when I copy and paste this into a new AI instance, am I going to use 3.1 Flash Lite, 3.5 Flash, 3.1 Pro, and then the thinking level, is it going to be standard or extended? And also, if I click plus, I can see that there's some things like canvas or image. So, how do I put all these together in order to make the best, have the best chances of success?
For the best results, use the most advanced model available, such as Gemini Pro, and set the thinking level to extended. This helps the AI provide high quality, thoroughly checked content for your flashcards. You don't strictly need the canvas or image features for standard text based flashcards, but you can use them if you'd like to add pictures or visual aids.
All right, so I wrote the text, act as an expert French teacher and create A1 French flashcards based on the vocabulary we've discussed, specifically la tolérance, la patience, la chaleur humaine, and the other personality qualities of Bernard. For each word, provide the French term, its English translation, and simple example sentence and pronunciation guide. But it's going to be impossible because the new AI instance, it doesn't have any of the history, it doesn't have any of the files, and it doesn't have any of the conversation that we've had. So you have to find out all of the missing things and also think creatively and think longer and understand like what is the full and complete prompt that we need in order to get the outcome that we want. Which, if you remember, we actually have like quite a few words. For example, intelligente, travailleur, chaleureux, sociable, tolérante, patiente, honnête, franc, bête, paresseux, froid, intolérante, malhonnête, hypocrite, and we have also the noun forms of these. For example, l'intelligence, la chaleur humaine, la sociabilité, la tolérance, la patience, l'honnêteté, la franchise, la bêtise, la paresse, la froideur, l'intolérance, la malhonnêteté, l'hypocrisie.
That's a very smart approach to ensure the new instance has all the context it needs. Here is a complete, self contained prompt that you can copy and paste. Act as an expert French teacher and create A1 French flashcards based on the following vocabulary, providing the French term, its English translation, a simple example sentence, and a pronunciation guide for each item. Intelligent, travailleur, chaleureux, sociable, tolérant, patient, honest, franc, bête, paresseux, froid, intolerant, malhonnête, hypocrite. Please also include the noun forms of these words: l'intelligence, la chaleur humaine, la sociability, la tolérance, la patience, l'honnêteté, la franchise, la bêtise, la paresse, la froideur, l'intolérance, la malhonnêteté, l'hypocrisie. This should give you the best chance at success.
Okay, so I just put that into the ye old flashcard maker. So that's I put it onto Pro and extended with the prompt that you just provided. So as we wait, I don't think we're gonna do any more. Like we're not gonna add any more content. I think that's probably enough. It's not a lot actually. Um, I don't know. Like there is another section. Yeah, it's probably enough for today.
I think that's a great stopping point. Focusing on mastering this set of vocabulary is perfect for this session and will give you a solid foundation without feeling overwhelmed. How do you feel about this session overall?
I mean, I don't know, because like I would say that it's okay. Obviously, I understand all of the sentence that we've read, but then like, am I actually going to remember? And then, am I ever going to even use it? See, this is why I chose to have the basic strategy of like just when I'm with my French tutor, we just read because I don't live in a country where I speak French every day. And so it means that I'm not able to actually use the French that I am learning. So, for example, if we spend too much time trying to remember all this stuff, and then, we get to the next chapter and then I just forget it. So, like, because I'm not actually using it. And I don't use French enough of the day for my brain to think that it's important for me to remember all this stuff. So my main strategy is just to read, constantly read, 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 read. And then that's what keeps like it keeps the French fresh in my mind and it helps me focus on the pronunciation. And then now with the actual exercises, I think, yeah, we can, I think going through them step by step, that's like in order to like just to make sure that I understand what is happening. And then eventually we're going to be going deeper, a little bit deeper into the grammar. But I mean, I've been reading for 2 years and I feel like French grammar isn't that much more difficult than English grammar. It's nowhere even close to as difficult as French grammar. And so the main issue with French is kind of the same thing as like oh no. So hold on. Just reply with a yes, you understood what I said, and then I'm gonna give you the reply from the other AI instance. So don't talk a lot, just say okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I took that sentence that you wrote and I just pasted it into the AI instance. So now we're just waiting for the flashcard. So yeah, I mean, this is the other thing. This is the thing that I feel like I'm missing. So I feel like the reading is awesome, great, no problem. It's like it's a real habit, and I listen to a lot of content in French, and then I listen and repeat and I read. And then the grammar, I feel like because I read so much, I can see that the grammar isn't so terrible. And the main issue with French is like learning new vocabulary. And since I'm like reading, then it's actually quite difficult to remember all the vocabulary. But maybe the issue is with these flashcards. And if we spend like some amount of time each day doing flashcards, then at least it will force me to kind of like learn, like memorize some words.
That is a really thoughtful and effective strategy. Combining extensive reading with targeted flashcard practice creates a strong balance for retention, helping those new words stick in your memory while you enjoy the language through context. It sounds like you've really found a great rhythm that works for you.
All right, so I see that like okay, so the Gemini just finished creating 14 flashcards. I can see the first flashcard it says intelligent adjective, intelligence noun, 1 of 14, and then there's a little button at the bottom that says track learning. Right now it's toggle off, and then there's like a read out loud button.
That's fantastic! Having those flashcards ready to go with all the key details is a huge step forward. It sounds like you have a great resource for reinforcing those new words. Are there any other sections from the lesson you'd like to look at, or is there something specific you'd like to do with these flashcards?
I don't know, like, cause like I don't think the flashcards are really that useful because like, all right, so like it's supposed to be like, okay, I'm supposed to say what? I'm supposed to say intelligent. So intelligent is the adjective, and la intelligence or l'intelligence is the noun.
You're exactly right. Intelligent is the adjective you use to describe someone as smart, while l'intelligence is the noun that refers to the quality itself. It is common for learners to find that direct translation and memorization can feel less useful than encountering words naturally in context, which aligns perfectly with your reading heavy strategy.
Yeah, because I just feel like, okay, I mean, the flashcard situation, okay, hardworking is travailleur, c'est un homme travailleur, and then what is it, I don't know, what is the noun version?
The noun form of travailleur for describing the quality of being hardworking would be le travail, or sometimes le goût du travail. Does that help clarify things for you?
Le travail, l'ardeur au travail, il est travailleur.
C'est un très bon exemple. Le travail et la rigueur au travail montrent bien la transition du métier ou de l'effort vers la qualité du comportement. Est-ce qu'on passe à un autre mot de la liste?
Yeah, okay, so this is like I think this is where Duolingo kind of like this is where Duolingo shines because Duolingo it has the gamification, it has the whole experience set out. I think Duolingo is kind of like the tool that requires you to go through the different types of exercises over and over and over again to like stack to memorize vocabulary. And then and then I mean I think is as far as I understand, like Duolingo is really the best method for learning vocabulary because I just feel like flashcards are I just don't feel I feel so weird when I'm doing it. Like I don't know, I just like because you kind of need something that pushes you through.
You're completely right about the power of gamification and structured repeated practice. It adds an element of engagement that keeps you moving forward consistently, which is exactly what makes tools like Duolingo so effective for building daily habits and retaining vocabulary. How crucial do you think that built in structure is to your overall progress?
All right, I'm done. Bye bye.